Okay, let's just move on then quickly. So I think we've spoken about a couple of these things here, and in actual fact, that's me with Nedbank's Pepper robot. So Nedbank obviously did quite a large robotic experiment, where they put Pepper into their branches to actually interact with customers. So automation, can come in many different formats. And for me, this is automation or digitization of a channel or an interaction with a customer. And really, what digital transformation actually requires is a much more fundamental re-engineering of your back-end processes all the way through to your front end. You can put a robot in your branch, but if you don't have the processes and the quality of data behind that, which is equally well digitized and optimized, then you've just automated the front of a frustrating process. And I guess really that talks to this discontinuity of innovation, where you have to go through some radical disruption to get to products that genuinely move the needle in terms of customer expectations and how they create value. You can't improve a horse-drawn cart to develop a car. There's no pathway of incremental improvement from one to the other. You have to be a crazy one, as we mentioned, and stand outside of that and say, I've got a new way of doing that. Because if you ask that rider of the horse-drawn cart what he wants to improve his transportation system, he's going to say, give me a faster horse. Whereas Thomas Edison reimagined that entire transport system. Now, if we come back to the question that was asked earlier on, the horse population of America has had an exponential decay. And horses, whereas they were obviously used for every horse-drawn cart, and there was actually a whole, jobs market in New York, for example, of people who used to clean up the streets after the horses, was completely disrupted. And one of the arguments against bringing in motor vehicles into New York City was, well, what are we going to do with all the people that clean up after all the horses? So the valid questions, but those people then reinvented themselves, took on more advanced jobs as those jobs were no longer required or were automated. And I think failure is an important one there. Thomas Edison had a culture of radical experimentation, and he was willing to fail 9,999 times, simply because you could not improve a candle to get to a light bulb. And even the filament light bulb itself has now been disrupted by LED and other technology. So these waves of cyclical destruction will continue. But as I've said, humans have so far been able to stay ahead of them. And I guess the question is whether that will continue on into the future, where we have an artificially intelligent dominated technology that we have to deal with. Then cloud, just the last topic to touch on today is really just an infrastructure disruption, and really I guess it's got to be balanced against the need for privacy and how governments are regulating the location of that customer data, which becomes a little bit of a question mark, because the ultimate place at which that customer record is stored in its master form is very much open to interpretation. And again, it's got to be balanced between job protection and the advancement and the improvement and the progression of societies, whereby if we don't embrace cloud, you're going to have potential loss of access to cloud-based services in continents where it's absolutely critical and might be needed for medical and education and other reasons. So within companies, we're moving our infrastructures into the cloud so that we don't have, expensive brick and mortar server centers that we have to maintain. So massive benefits of scale there. Okay, so just quickly then, guys, that are still on the webinar, this is the course, and I'll put a link to it now. Calvin, you've done the course. Any thoughts from your side, having done the course and read the book?
Yeah, both were great. Guys, I highly recommend them. It'll keep you in touch with digital, especially if you go for a job interview and you can speak the lingo and have dialogue about that stuff. It's really impressive. And then also, it also helps break barriers between you and professionals, and that helps you build connections as well. So I think it's a great course, and the book is invaluable, guys. If you can grab that book and keep it for the rest of your life, it'll lead you in good stead. But the point is that things change, guys, and the status quo must be challenged ultimately. So get up to date with these topics. If you didn't really catch everything, it's really invaluable. I sent 2 links on the chat there. I don't know if they can see them, Peter. One was the Future of Jobs report, so you guys can have a look at that. It might give you some interesting tips. And then a great book for blockchain that I read this year called The Truth Machine. I sent a link where you can, if you want to purchase that online. But yeah, otherwise, guys, I mean, Peter's stuff is really concise and succinct. You won't have to spend too much time going into the hairy details. So I really recommend them.